Welcome to Washington Today on C-SPAN Radio for Wednesday, December 24th, 2025. On this Christmas Eve, President Donald Trump participates in NORAD Santa Tracker calls and also makes calls to U.S. service members, joined by First Lady Melania Trump. Members of Congress of both parties also posting their holiday greetings. Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, releases his annual Festivus Report on government waste. He says he has identified $1.6 trillion worth. A bipartisan group of senators signed a letter calling for an audit of the Justice Department's release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. They say it's in violation of the law that set a deadline of 30 days after enactment to release all the files. And the Justice Department now says it may need a few more weeks to finish after identifying more than 1 million more potential files related to the case. European leaders condemn the Trump administration blocking 5 Europeans who monitor online hate and disinformation from traveling to the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio calls them leading figures of the global censorship-industrial complex. And White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller calls for the firing of all producers on the CBS News show 60 Minutes who protested the pulling of a report on the Trump administration's deportation of Venezuelan men to a prison in El Salvador. And we start with Christmas Eve and the North American Aerospace Defense Command NORAD Santa Tracker, which has been following Santa Claus's travels around the world, delivering presents to all the good little boys and girls. Santa Tracker, as the story goes, got started by mistake in 1955 and has been going strong ever since. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell posted this video Tuesday to preview what's in store this year.
Hey everyone, I'm Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell. As families across the country gather to begin celebrating Christmas and the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, our thoughts turn to our courageous warfighters who continue to stand vigilant across the globe, sacrificing dearly to safeguard our freedoms right here at home. Tomorrow night, on Christmas Eve, NORAD will once again undertake its cherished tradition of tracking Santa Claus as he makes his journey around the globe, bringing a touch of magic to the Christmas season. What began decades ago as an unintentional phone call from a child to then Continental Air Defense Command has become a moment of joy for families everywhere, showcasing the lighter side of NORAD's mission and celebrating its 70th anniversary. NORAD Tracks Santa will go live on war.gov Wednesday night, and we're excited to continue this tradition with the American people. So from all of us at the Department of War, Merry Christmas, and thank you to all who served, especially during the holidays. God bless you all, and God bless this great country that we call home.
Pentagon Chief Spokesman Sean Parnell posting that video. Captain Alex Worden, NORAD and Northcom Public Affairs Officer, was interviewed on KREM-TV and spoke in Washington about the Santa Tracker, the tracking techniques, and the technology.
This year is the 70th anniversary of NORAD tracking Santa. So it actually starts up north in Canada and in Alaska with the North Warning System. It's our radar system that we're used to be able to detect any potential threats to North America. As soon as Santa takes off from the North Pole, that cues our overhead persistent infrared satellites that are orbiting above 22,000 miles above the Earth. And they can track the heat signature off Rudolph's nose.
Whoa.
Yep. And as he approaches North America, our Canadian and American fighter jets have the opportunity to fly on by and wiggle their wings, say hey as he continues his flight across the globe.
So incredible. I love that it can track Rudolph's nose. Tell us about the technology. 70 years, my goodness. Technology has advanced, obviously, over 70 years. Any new technology that NORAD is using nowadays, especially with AI and all that?
Yeah, so as on the Canadian side and the American side, of course, there's been many evolutions for the technologies and equipment that we use in an integrated fashion in the defense of North America. However, it's those three same core capabilities that we focus on Santa Claus on the 24th. Over time, obviously, the satellites in orbit have changed. The radar systems have been upgraded to provide a much more clear picture. The computer backbone that connects connects everything, has become more enabled by emerging technologies such as AI. And our fighter jets have become more and more advanced as well. However, at the end of the day, it's still those three same core capabilities that are focusing on the big red guy's journey.
Yeah, I didn't know about the hotline. Okay, so tell me, what do the kids ask on the hotline? What's like the number one question you get? Are they like impatient? Like, where is this guy?
Yeah, absolutely. So the most popular question we get, of course, is where is Santa? And our volunteers are able to help share that information. People tend to ask, hey, when is he arriving where I live? But what we can say, although Santa changes his route and only Santa knows his route around the globe, is that he typically arrives between 9 p.m. and midnight on the 24th. But he's only going to arrive at your house after you've gone to sleep. So make sure you get to bed early that night so Santa can continue on his journey and doesn't have to come back later.
And you have to be on the nice list too, of course.
Of course.
Captain Alex Worden, NORAD and Northcom Public Affairs Officer on KREM TV in Spokane, Washington. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump took some of the hotline, the Santa Tracker hotline calls, as they spend the holidays at the Club Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. Here is one of the calls to the president.
Mr. President, we are connecting you to Cruz. He is 5 years old from State College, Pennsylvania. And Santa is currently in for Copenhagen, Denmark.
Whoa. That's pretty good.
Merry Christmas. You too.
Hi.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you. Merry Christmas, Mom.
This is Cruz.
Hi, Cruz.
I'm from Pennsylvania.
Right, I know. Oh, Pennsylvania's great. We won Pennsylvania. Actually 3 times, but we won Pennsylvania. We won it in a landslide, so I love Pennsylvania. So Santa right now is in Copenhagen, Denmark. And he's heading toward our country. What would you like from Santa?
A sweetie pen, and I want a glazed digger, and I want science stuff and a robot.
Well, you'll get all of it. Mom, I think he's going to get all of it, don't you think, from Santa?
Thank you. Merry Christmas, General.
I think so. He was really good.
Well, he sounds like he's good. Sounds like he's got a good mom, too, right?
Yeah. Say, we love President Trump, right?
That's so nice.
Yeah. I voted.
Oh, wow. I'll bet your mom voted properly. Well, we love that wonderful place you come from. We have I have very good feelings about it. We did so well there, so I appreciate it, Mom. Okay? Pennsylvania's a great place. Really great place. So I want to thank you and good luck. And I hope you get everything you want, but I think Santa will come through. He's heading here from Denmark, and he should be here in about 5 hours, but you'll be sleeping, right?
Yep.
When you sleep, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be the happiest young man.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
excited.
You're excited? Well, I'm excited too, because the country's doing well. And Mom, thank you very much, okay? Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas, President Trump.
And you too and your whole family. Thank you, darling. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Thank you. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump taking calls on the hotline for NORAD's Santa Tracker. They were at the Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach, Florida. And you can get updates on Santa Claus's journey through thesantatracker.com and on X at the Santa Tracker. And the hotline number is 1-877-HI-NORAD. 1-877-HI-NORAD. Axios writes that most kids are still counting on Santa Claus to make an appearance this Christmas, despite concerns that kids these days are too cool to believe. A new YouGov poll finds belief in the jolly old St. Nick has remained fairly steady over time, though 2025 data shows a slight dip from recent years. 56% of parents with children under 18 say their kids still believe in Santa, while 12% are unsure, down just 2% from the 2024 survey when 58% said their children still believe. That was from Axios. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump also calling U.S. service members on this Christmas Eve.
On behalf of the First Lady and our entire country, let me thank each and every one of you for your extraordinary devotion and service to America. I also want to salute your wonderful families, and it's amazing how much they sacrifice. You understand it better than anybody, but they sacrifice so much, and especially during these beautiful holidays. I know it's not easy when duty separates you from your loved ones, but you have earned the gratitude of all Americans for keeping our country safe, strong, and free. And tonight and tomorrow, countless millions of Americans have you in their prayers. We are praying for all of you. You have no idea how respected you are, how loved you are. You don't see it because there's no way of you seeing it, but you are respected and loved more than anyone. As your Commander-in-Chief, I also want to thank you for your incredible backup. You've backed up everything I've wanted to do, and you've made our country stronger and more prosperous than ever before. But I have your back also, because by now I hope most of you have received your special warrior dividend of $1,776, right? $1,776. And, you know, in case you're not aware of it, it's tax-free. You don't have to pay tax. In other words, you don't have to send half of it back to the government 15 minutes after you get it. You don't have to send anything back. So that's $1,776. It's tax-free, and we've distributed just about all of it in time for Christmas, and you've earned it. Nobody else is going to do that for you. That I can tell you. It was $1,775, and I said, you know, if you had $1, it's $1,776, and everyone said, well, we never thought of it, but that $1 was pretty cool. Last week, I also signed a 3.8 pay raise for every soldier, sailor, airman, Coast Guardsman, Space Guardian, and Marine. So it's been a good time for you. The country's doing well. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars from tariffs that have really made us stronger and much richer and given us great national security. So you are a beneficiary of that. We have 6 units joining us today, one from each branch of our military.
It's President Donald Trump sitting beside First Lady Melania Trump.
Thank you all for your service. Please stay safe, and I wish you and your families a Merry Christmas. I'm sure they miss you at home, but they're rooting for you, and they're very proud of you. So are we. The nation is proud of you, and Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year.
From Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump making calls to U.S. service members around the world. This is Washington Today. A lot of members of Congress are posting videos wishing everyone Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Here are Senator Deb Fischer, Republican from Nebraska, and Congresswoman Nellie Poe, Democrat of New Jersey.
Hello, Senator Deb Fischer here, wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Whether you're celebrating at home or enjoying some of Nebraska's impressive light displays and live nativities, please know that I am wishing you a joyful holiday. Leading up to this holiday season, Nebraskans have worked tirelessly to provide for their families and loved ones, putting food on the table and gifts under the tree. Many Nebraskans have stepped up to serve their communities through food drives, neighborhood carpools, and school fundraisers. And as families gather across generations to celebrate, we are reminded of our values that bind us together. During this season of reflection, I am especially grateful to be a Nebraskan and for the opportunity to serve each of you in the United States Senate. Thank you, may God bless you, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, New Jersey. Congresswoman Nellie Poe here. Christmas is a very special time of year, and personally my favorite. It is a season of faith, generosity, family, and reflection on the year behind us and the one ahead. It is also a time when the very best of our state shines its brightest. Whether you are celebrating with coquito or eggnog, may this Christmas be the joy for you and your loved ones. This year, I am grateful for the opportunity to serve you in Congress. I'm especially thankful for the chance to travel throughout our district and meet so many of you who have shared your stories with me. Know that I truly cherish those moments and know that our office is here to work and fight for you. Thank you for the everyday act of kindness, support, and generosity you bring to our community. Your spirit is what makes this season and our state so remarkable. From my family to yours, Merry Christmas to all. Feliz Navidad.
Congresswoman Nellie Poe, Democrat of New Jersey, and before that, Senator Deb Fischer, Republican of Nebraska, posting those videos. WDRB-TV in Louisville, Kentucky, reporting that U.S. Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, is out with his 2025 Festivus Report, taking aim at $1.6 trillion in government waste. It's the 11th year for the Kentucky Republican to, quote, air grievances against Washington wasteful spending. He said, this year, I'm spotlighting a jaw-dropping amount of government waste, the kind that makes you wonder if anyone in Washington has ever heard the word priorities. A grand total of $1,639,135,969,608, which includes $1.22 trillion in interest payments on the debt. He said highlights this year include cash going toward experiments, teaching ferrets to binge drink alcohol, and dosing dogs with cocaine. And then parentheses, he puts again. Reporting from WDRB-TV, Congressman Pat Fallon, Republican of Texas, was asked about the report on a Fox Business Channel interview.
Senator Rand Paul released his annual Festivus Report, and it includes, as always, some wacky government waste, like $2.4 million to programs that promote insects as food for humans. Let's not forget $14.6 million to have monkeys play video games. Very important stuff. Look, there's so much more on that list, Congressman. Wasn't DOJ supposed to cut all of this waste?
Well, I sit on the DOJ subcommittee, and we did expose and cut plenty. But quite honestly, Ashley, our work has just begun. I feel like John Paul Jones. We have not yet begun to fight. We cut $500 million from NPR and PBS, and there was other billions of dollars worth of savings. But when you look at, say, Medicaid, that program across the country, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud, waste, and abuse. And we have got to stick to it. We got to keep our eye on the prize, or it'll just be, another opportunity wasted.
Congressman Pat Fallon, Republican of Texas, on Fox Business Channel on Tuesday. It's a story from Yahoo Finance. The Department of Government Efficiency, DOJ, formerly run by Elon Musk, ends 2025 with strikingly divergent results around its two primary goals. On one front, government payroll numbers are down this year by about 9%, from 3.015 million federal workers in January to 2.744 million in November. At the same time, government spending has not slowed, despite Musk's promises there. A tool from the Brookings Institution's Hamilton Project tracks government money headed out the door in real time and shows outlays as of December 19th have risen from $7.135 to $7.558 trillion. That's a nearly 6% increase. From Yahoo Finance. Wall Street, a shortened session today ahead of the holiday. The Dow up 288, closing at a new high, 48,731. S&P up 22, also closing at a new high, 69.32. And NASDAQ up 51. ABC News writes this year is expected to be the busiest on record for holiday travel, but rough weather in the West and the East may make getting to and from your Christmas destination even harder. Again, that was from ABC. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who has been urging Americans to usher in a golden age of travel by behaving better and dressing nicer, especially when on airplanes, invited an etiquette expert to give some do's and don'ts when you fly.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy here. I'm with Allison Shepherdak. She is an author, an influencer, a public speaker, but also an etiquette coach, someone who can talk about what etiquette should we have as we're traveling this holiday season. So Allison, it's good to be with you. Thanks for joining me in these really wonderful airline seats. I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
The greatest thing that can happen in American aviation is that we get a brand new air traffic control system. And that's what I'm working on right now. But beyond that, when we're going onto an airplane, what should we think about? What are some of the red flags, things we shouldn't do as we travel?
Don't be reorganizing your carry-on when people are trying to get past you and get into their seat. You don't want to be bringing smelly food or messy food or noisy food when you're on a plane. Bare feet, also not a good look when you're on a plane. You want to be wearing your earphones whenever you're listening to something or washing something. You want to avoid speakerphone conversations or loud conversations when you're on a plane.
How we dress, how we look, how we present, is that an issue?
How you dress and how you look is important to show respect, not just for yourself, but also for the occasion and for others. And so you can dress in a way that is functional and practical and comfortable and also really respectful.
Our best angels on our shoulder. What should we think about doing that's on the positive side?
Green flags are things like helping someone who you think may be struggling to get their carry-on in an overhead compartment, or helping them at baggage claim if they're having difficulty with their bag, helping or even just providing a little encouragement to a parent, especially a parent who might be traveling alone with little ones. Let's say someone is not from the U.S. This is an opportunity to be an ambassador for our country and to show what a wonderful country we are and how civil and kind and respectful we can be.
Should I or shouldn't I do this? What are those beige flags?
One of them is switching seats. So some people will say you should never ask to switch seats because someone has paid for a specific seat and so they clearly want to sit there. And where I stand on this is that it's fine to ask, but then you want to respect the answer and try to ask for a switch that is going to be a similar seat.
The greatest debate that's taking place in aviation history right now. Should you or should you not recline your seat?
I don't like to give squishy answers, but here I will, which is it depends.
Means you're going to give us a squishy answer.
Yes, so it depends. What you want to do is look behind you. So is the person working? Are they eating? Then the answer is no, you shouldn't be reclining your seat. But let's say it's an overnight flight and the person has their seat reclined and they're sleeping, then it's probably fine. So just take a peek behind you and then make a judgment call.
All right, let's talk armrest. Who gets the armrest?
The person in the middle seat gets both armrests.
I'm okay with that. My best practice is, tuck your elbows inside the seat. I am grateful, DOT is grateful, and America is grateful for your help and insight. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy in a video with Elevate Etiquette founder Allison Shepernak. The Transportation Security Administration, the TSA, has been posting various tips on its X account during this busy holiday travel time. And today, they wrote, #holiday travel tip, traveling with your pets this week. Our X-ray machines are not veterinary equipment. Please don't send your pets through our X-ray scanners. If you believe your pet may attempt to escape during screening, ask our officers about private screening options. This is Washington Today. Associated Press writing a dozen U.S. senators are calling on the Justice Department's watchdog to examine the department's failure to release all records pertaining to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein by last Friday's congressionally mandated deadline, saying victims deserve full disclosure and the peace of mind of an independent audit. They wrote, given the Trump administration's historic hostility to releasing the files, politicization of the Epstein case more broadly, and failure to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a neutral assessment of its compliance with the statutory disclosure requirements is essential. Full transparency is essential to identifying members of our society who enabled and participated in Epstein's crimes. That was from Associated Press. The senators signing on include Republican Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and 11 Democrats. Congressman Suhas Subramanian, Democrat of Virginia, was on CNN today talking about the Epstein files release.
The deadline for me was 4 months ago when we subpoenaed them for the documents. We were going to work with them on redactions. We were going to work with them on protecting the victims. The victims themselves were involved in that process with our oversight committee. And now we're at a point where the law said to release them last Friday. And so now at this point, we don't even know how many files they have. We don't know what they have. The one thing that we do have on our side is the victims and many people who know a lot about this case, know a lot about this story. And so they're helping us sort of work backwards and letting us know what we don't have so that if something is missing, we can at least know that it is missing and go after it later.
Congressman Suhas Subramanian, Democrat of Virginia, on CNN. He was also asked about the announcement Tuesday night by Members of Congress Thomas Massie, Republican of Kentucky, and Ro Khanna, Democrat of California, that they are bringing inherent contempt charges against Attorney General Pam Bondi over the release of files related to Jeffrey Epstein.
Congressman Thomas Massie from Kentucky and Congressman Ro Khanna from California, they've talked about potentially putting sanctions or holding the Attorney General in contempt. That is unprecedented. It hasn't happened in a long time, but these are unprecedented times. We've also never had a Department of Justice continue to go against the will of Congress multiple times and the will of the American people, really. And so, yeah, these are really serious things that we're going after, but it's because it's a very serious situation where they're basically flaunting the law and saying that they're not going to follow the law. They're going to do whatever they want and redact whatever they want at this point. They've said that they had these files since January. They were ready to release since March. We had a subpoena that's 4 months old at this point in the Oversight Committee in Congress. That was a bipartisan subpoena. So at this point, there's no excuse. They're just not following the law at this point.
Congressman Suhasa Subramanian interviewed today on CNN. He's a Democrat from Virginia. Another AP story, the Justice Department said Wednesday that finishing the release of all of the Jeffrey Epstein files could take a few more weeks, further delaying compliance with a December 19th deadline set by Congress. The department said the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, as well as the FBI, found more than 1 million more documents that could be relevant to the Epstein case. DOJ did not say in its statement when they were informed of those files. DOJ insisted in its statement that its lawyers are working around the clock to review those documents and make the redactions required under the law, passed nearly unanimously by Congress last month. The department said we will release the documents as soon as possible due to the mass volume of material. This process may take a few more weeks. Reporting from Associated Press. Washington Today continues in a moment.
This Friday on a special edition of Ceasefire, host Dasha Burns features key moments from Ceasefire's inaugural season, highlighting moments of friendship and humor, respectful disagreement.
Tim's someone who, even when he disagrees, vehemently disagrees, Tim makes friends across the aisle with everyone.
Big shout out to my colleague, Representative Peters.
And even common ground from our ideologically diverse group of guests throughout the season.
The thing that I appreciate about Rahm is while we differed, particularly after he led the charge for the Democrats to defeat the Republican majority in 2006. I always felt like
later you got over it.
I did. Still too soon. We won it back a couple years later.
I think it's really good for Americans to see that we don't always disagree, that we actually like each other, we can agree on some things.
We ought to just commit ourselves to love and justice, not hatred and revenge. One of the wonderful things that I've been able to experience with my very dear brother Robert George is that I love the brother when he's right, I love him when he's wrong, I love him when he's wrestling in his quest for truth.
Watch our special bipartisan moments from this season of Ceasefire this Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on C-SPAN.
You can also listen to Ceasefire as a podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to Washington Today, available as a podcast on the free C-SPAN Now mobile app and wherever you find your podcasts. A few more headlines from Associated Press. The United States and Ukraine have reached a consensus on several critical issues aimed at bringing an end to the nearly 4-year conflict. But sensitive issues around territorial control in Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland, along with the management of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, remain unresolved, Ukraine's president said. And thousands of people flocked to Bethlehem's Manger Square on Christmas Eve as families heralded a much-needed boost of holiday spirit. The giant Christmas tree that was absent during the Israel-Hamas war returned on Wednesday. Also from AP, France, Germany, the European Union, and the United Kingdom on Wednesday hit out at a U.S. decision to impose travel bans on 5 Europeans the Trump administration accuses of pressuring tech firms to censor or suppress American views. The EU's executive branch, the European Commission, which supervises tech regulation in Europe, warned that it would take action against any unjustified measures. It said it had requested clarification from the U.S. State Department, which announced the bans on Tuesday. The 5 Europeans were characterized by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio as radical activists and weaponized non-governmental organizations. They include the former EU commissioner responsible for supervising social media rules. Thierry Breton, a businessman and former French finance minister, clashed last year on social media with tech billionaire Elon Musk over broadcasting an online interview with Donald Trump in the months leading up to the U.S. election. That was the article from Associated Press. Sarah Rogers, the U.S. Undersecretary of State for Diplomacy, warned 2 weeks ago at the Prosperity Institute think tank in London that the U.S. would not accept what the Europeans were doing in this area.
The Online Safety Act is not the worst, most censorious law in Britain. The Online Safety Act is not standing alone, and sometimes it's not the sole reason, and sometimes it is not even a contributing reason why you have comedians detained for tweets, why you have priests arrested for silent prayer, why you have grandmothers dragged out of their home for dissenting about gender ideology. There are a tangle of laws here that have these censorious effects. What the Online Safety Act did is it purported to codify, for purposes of extraterritorial enforcement, the requirement that companies on other countries' soil, including notably American soil, adhere to British hate speech, public order, and other censorious doctrines. And that, my friends, is a deal breaker. America's not going to do it. But we are delighted to see that others in Britain are opposing this law. How to repeal the Online Safety Act is for the British people to decide and for the British people to achieve, not for us to dictate. Why to repeal the Online Safety Act is self-evident. I am here coming up on America's 250th anniversary. We like to call that the original Brexit, when our founders broke away from the old world and claimed new freedoms as citizens, not subjects. And the first of those freedoms was the First Amendment.
Sarah Rogers, U.S. Undersecretary of State for Diplomacy at the Prosperity Institute in London on December 12th. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Tuesday put out a statement. The State Department is taking decisive action against 5 individuals who have led organized efforts to coerce American platforms to censor, demonize, and suppress American viewpoints they oppose. These radical activists and weaponized NGOs have advanced censorship crackdowns by foreign states, in each case targeting American speakers and American companies. As such, I have determined that their entry, presence, or activities in the United States have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States. Statement from Secretary Rubio. The European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen posting today, freedom of speech is the foundation of our strong and vibrant European democracy. We are proud of it. We will protect it. Last week at a Hanukkah event in Brussels, just after the deadly anti-Semitic shooting in Australia, she said more will be done to curb anti-Semitic online content.
We are also working to fight anti-Semitic speech online with a dedicated network of trusted flaggers. We need to do more to prevent online manipulation of young people and vulnerable groups. And this is why next month we will launch new measures to prevent and counter radicalization and anti-Semitic narratives so that hate no longer festers and spreads.
European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen at a Hanukkah menorah lighting in Brussels December 17th. Today, European officials are reacting to the Trump administration revoking visas of 5 Europeans, it says, are censoring speech online. 2 are from Great Britain, and a UK government spokesman said it is fully committed to upholding the right to free speech. And while every country has the right to set its own visa rules, we support the laws and institutions which are working to keep the internet free from the most harmful content. Social media platforms should not be used to disseminate child sex abuse material, incite hatred and violence, or spread fake information and videos for that purpose. Another sanction today is from France, and the French President Emmanuel Macron saying that the visa restrictions amount to intimidation and coercion aimed at undermining European digital sovereignty. Back in the United States, Axios writing the National Guard is deploying to New Orleans in the latest of President Trump's moves to send federal troops to back up local law enforcement across the country. The deployment of 350 troops will begin in time for the new year and last through February. Governor Jeff Landry, a Republican, announced Tuesday during an appearance on Fox News. Reporting from Axios, Here is the governor.
Just moments ago, we had the Supreme Court block an effort by the Trump administration to deploy National Guard troops in Illinois, namely in Chicago. But yet, as you have increased crackdowns on illegal aliens and crime in your state, you have an announcement.
Yes, I want to thank President Trump. He is fulfilling his commitment. Him and Secretary of War Hegseth are sending the National Guard back into Louisiana, into New Orleans. They will be there for New Year's Eve, and they're going to be there for a deployment through February, which we desperately need. Look, we know how to make cities safe, and the National Guard complements cities that are having high crime problems. Look at what the president's done in Washington, D.C. When he wanted to send the National Guard into Washington, D.C., Louisiana was one of the first to raise his hand and say, our troops will go there and help you. And the city is so much better. They're going to be here in New Orleans. It's going to help us further crack down on the violence here in the city of New Orleans and elsewhere around Louisiana. And so a big shout out to both of them. Thank you.
Governor Jeff Landry, Republican of Louisiana, on Fox News Tuesday. Shreveport Times, writing that Democratic New Orleans Mayor-elect Helena Moreno said she welcomes Republican President Donald Trump's deployment of 350 National Guard troops to the city, unlike some other Democratic mayors and governors who have sued the administration to stop such operations. The troops will be deployed shortly after Christmas and remain to provide enhanced security through signature events, New Year's, Sugar Bowl, and Mardi Gras. Moreno said in a statement provided to USA Today Network, like in past years, including last year, we appreciate the support provided by our federal and state public safety partners to increase the visibility of security assets during major events, such as Carnival, New Year's, and the Sugar Bowl. From TheHill.com, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller on Tuesday urged CBS News to fire the producers of 60 Minutes for launching a, quote, revolt against editor-in-chief Barry Weiss, who recently pulled a segment focused on Venezuelan men deported to the El Salvadoran Etiquette prison. Weiss has defended her decision to pull Sharon Alfonsi's piece, alleging it was not ready to air. She said the piece needed comment from Trump administration principals like Miller. That was from The Hill. Stephen Miller was interviewed Tuesday night on Fox News.
All right, so I got to ask you about this because I know that you've been really enjoying watching this whole kerfuffle over at 60 Minutes over their package on the Etiquette prisons. And you actually have somebody from the outside, new, who's trying to actually act like an adult over at 60 Minutes and say, hey, wait a minute, you failed to talk to the administration, you failed to put in any sort of context whatsoever for the story, and so she's decided to pause the story, and now there's an open revolt at 60 Minutes. First of all, were you contacted about this package, and were you, and what do you make of all of it?
Well, I don't remember anybody reaching out to me. Of course, as you know, people put things into comms inboxes and general feedback comments, but I don't remember getting anything. But more fundamentally, this is another pathetic 60 Minutes hatchet job. They're trying to tell sob stories about trained Iraq gang members who drill holes in people's hands, who rape and murder little girls. This is the gang that kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered Jocelyn Ungary. Remember her, that precious 12-year-old girl from Texas who was taken from her mom and went through horrors none of us can even imagine? And you have these 60-minute producers who are living in comfort and security in their West End condos trying to make us feel sympathetic for these monsters? Have you seen the tattoos, the face tattoos, the body tattoos on these killers? Would one 60 Minutes producer or writer agree to spend 30 minutes? I'll make a deal. We will pick someone at random that we sent to CCOT, just a random lottery drawing, and they will spend one day overnight in your apartment. Who was taking that deal at 60 Minutes? Nobody. Because they know that these are monsters who got exactly what they deserved. Because under President Trump, we're not going to let little girls get raped and murdered anymore. And every one of those producers at 60 Minutes engaged in this revolt, fire them. Clean house, fire them. That's what I say, Charlie.
Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff and Homeland Security Advisor, on Fox News Tuesday night. Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, posted a video on Monday with his take on CBS News not airing this 60 Minutes report.
You might have heard that 60 Minutes pulled a segment last night at the last minute that would have been really embarrassing for the Trump administration. It was exposing these brutal conditions at a notorious El Salvadorian prison, a prison that Trump is moving migrants to. The point is the cruelty and the inhumanity. And it was going to be embarrassing because whether or not these people, had a right to enter the United States or not, no human should be treated under these kind of awful, diabolical conditions. And the segment didn't air. And the segment didn't air because Trump has effectively taken editorial control of CBS. What happened a few months ago is that CBS's parent company got bought. It got bought in a sale in which Trump basically said to the company that was buying it, if you want CBS, you've got to make CBS be more conservative, and you've essentially got to answer to me. That's what happened here. Trump didn't want the story. They wouldn't grant an interview for the story. And so at the very last minute, Bari Weiss, who had been installed as a conservative head of CBS in order to get the merger approved, pulled the segment. And why this matters is because never before have we had a president of the United States with this much editorial control, practical editorial control over American news networks. And why it matters even more is that this company, Skydance, is now in competition to buy Time Warner, which includes CNN. Even if they don't get control of CNN and Netflix instead gets control of CNN, Trump has basically told all these big billion-dollar companies, if you want a merger approved, if you want to take over a news network like CBS or CNN, you can do it, but you have got to give me power over what runs and what doesn't run. This is a big deal, this story being pulled at the last minute off the air, likely just because Donald Trump had objections to it. And it previews what's coming in American media as more and more networks get bought up by these giant billion-dollar corporations that care only about profit and are willing to give Donald Trump editorial control in order for their CEOs and investors to make billions off of these sales. This is how democracy dies.
Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, in a video. President Trump writing today on Truth Social, if network newscasts and their late-night shows are almost 100% negative to President Donald J. Trump, MAGA, and the Republican Party, shouldn't their very valuable broadcast licenses be terminated? I say yes. From the New York Times, Representative LaMonica MacGyver, Democrat of New Jersey, on Tuesday returned to the Migrant Detention Center in Newark, where 7 months ago she clashed with federal agents as they tried to arrest the city's mayor. U.S. authorities later charged her with assault in the incident. The latest stop at the center, Delaney Hall, unfolded less dramatically, with Ms. MacGyver and two other members of Congress spending more than 3 hours touring the troubled, privately run detention center and emerging with stories of neglect and harsh conditions. That story from the New York Times. Congresswoman MacGyver spoke to MS Now News after the visit.
We came here for another oversight visit. As you all know, I was here back in May. Very traumatic to be back here, especially, based off what I experienced being here the last time. But at the same time, it was important for me to be here. And what we saw inside was horrible. We had an opportunity to speak to detainees, over 20 of them, about their conditions, how they talked about they don't get adequate food. The food is spoiled, it's stale, they don't get enough. They do not have access to health care. Gentleman talked about how he needed access to mental health care, no access. Women, no access to OBGYN or, feminine products. I mean, over and over again, we've heard from all of them in there about how horrible the conditions are and how they're just under so much stress because they do not know what is going on. Many of them picked up at asylum hearings, immigration court, many of them on approved student visas, work visas, and literally they are incarcerated in this detention center. So it just was actually, they confirmed what we already know, what is happening with immigration in this country, but specifically it confirmed of just how bad it is and how this facility really should be closed. My colleagues and I have already sent a letter to oversight, to judiciary, asking them to do a full investigation of this facility and shut this facility down.
Congresswoman LaMonica MacGyver, Democrat of New Jersey, at the Delaney Hall Immigration Facility in Newark, New Jersey on Tuesday, the same place where earlier this year she was charged with assault during another attempted visit to inspect the property during a scuffle with federal agents. Headline from Associated Press, a federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's attempt to reallocate federal Homeland Security funding away from states that refuse to cooperate with certain federal immigration enforcement. And from the Washington Post, there's this. The Trump administration is seeking contractors to help it overhaul the United States immigrant detention system in a plan that includes renovating industrial warehouses to hold more than 80,000 immigrant detainees at a time, according to a draft solicitation reviewed by the Washington Post. And finally, on C-SPAN Radio's Washington Today on Christmas Eve, more holiday messages, this time from overseas, from the leaders of Great Britain, starting with the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer.
I'd like to wish the whole country a very happy Christmas. Right now, all across the UK, people are travelling home to be with their loved ones. Children are bursting with excitement. Families are making the final preparations, wrapping presents, hanging stockings, rushing out for last-minute bits. It's a truly special time of year. And it's a time to remind ourselves what's really important. Family, friends, community. It's a time to celebrate the Christmas story and to cherish the Christian values that define it. Peace, charity, and goodwill to all. That is the promise of the season. And just as so many put their feet up, some truly special people will be pulling on their uniforms and heading out to work. Our NHS staff, emergency services, and the brave men and women of our armed forces, all playing their part, doing their bit to care for the nation and to keep us safe. Many volunteers will be out there as well, serving food, reaching out to help those lonely or in need. So, on behalf of the whole country, I want to say a big thank you. As a nation, we should raise a glass to you this Christmas. But more than that, we should each do our bit as well. I know many across Britain are still struggling with the cost of living. Helping with that is my priority. But at this time of the year, which celebrates love and abundance, loss or hardship can feel even more acute. So call round to a neighbour, check in on a friend or a relative who you haven't heard from for a while. Reach out. It can make a huge difference. That's what Christmas is about. So whether you're at home this evening, heading to work, heading to church, or maybe heading to the pub, let's look forward and celebrate the joy and hope that Christmas brings. From my family to yours, to everyone in the United Kingdom, I hope you all have a very happy Christmas.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, head of the Labour Party, posting a video. The British opposition leader Kemi Badenoch of the Conservative Party also putting up a holiday video.
Christmas is the most special time of year. A time for making merry, of course, seeing friends. But more than anything, Christmas is about family. One of the privileges of being a mother is watching my children grow up, and it happens so quickly. So this Christmas, I'm excited to spend lots of quality time with them. This time of year also makes me think about loved ones who are no longer with us, like my dad. I remember so many Christmases as a child, and that's why I'm building a tradition of Christmas with my children, something which I hope they will one day share with their children. They love presents and Father Christmas, but I teach them that Christmas is also about the birth of Christ. I grew up in a Methodist family. My husband and kids are Catholic, and we're keen to instill in the children the values that Christmas teaches, like giving being more important than receiving, like the importance of sacrifice and service. So to all of you working over Christmas, I want to say a huge thank you for keeping the country going. Life can be amazing, but it can also be bumpy. Christmas is a chance to reflect on the year that's been, be grateful for the good things, mourn what we may have lost, and look forward to what we are going to do in the coming year. With that in mind, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has supported me during my first year as leader of the opposition. It's been the biggest challenge of my life, but it's also been a wonderful year. I can't wait to get back to work next year to create a better United Kingdom. But in the meantime, I wish you a very Merry Christmas.
British opposition leader Kemi Badenoch of the Conservative Party in a video on Christmas Eve. Thanks for listening to Washington Today. A reminder, the C-SPAN networks are now available on Hulu Plus Live TV. You can learn more at hulu.com/live TV. And get the latest on what's going on in Washington sent to your inbox every day by signing up for C-SPAN's evening newsletter, Word for Word, at cspan.org. Washington Today will not be airing on Christmas and the day after, and we'll see you next Monday. Have a good night, holiday, and weekend.